I'm really sick to death. I went there. I know cars inside and out. And quite frankly, when I heard the news that all these people, all these writers who didn't get invited, they're writers, they're finance, they don't know shit. And I was blown away. And these guys are saying, well, he didn't get details like this, and he didn't do that, and he didn't do this. What did he do? Hey boys and girls, I was at the Tesla event, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a feedback on the questions and whatnot that we've gotten from the people who've had a look at the video and whatnot. I will tell you that I'm I am super pissed at people who don't know what they're talking about, who weren't there, and whan because I'm in the press, or I'm a financial guy and I didn't get an invitation, and no one flew me out to California, and no one gave me any free surprises. You know what? And then throwing Tesla under the bus, especially Elon Musk. You know what? These clowns have never done anything. I've torn apart hundreds of 1,000 cars. I know everything about everything. I was blown away. And when I started reading some of the comments from these fools, what, are you kidding me? Anyway, you know what? I can see I'm going to head right off the edge of the cliff, so I'm going to get into the questions here. So, Grace, go for number one.
How would you describe your overall impression of the event?
I was blown away. I was expecting or hoping to see, when it said "we robots," I was hoping to see maybe something to do with the robots. But after seeing what I saw, robots dancing, walking around, not banging into people. I watched a guy do a couple of interviews. I watched a couple of interviews with some of the influencers and YouTubers that were there. Anyway, that was great. The car was. By the way, everybody's saying, "Well, you didn't talk about the Model 2, morons." You were looking at Model 2, morons. I can't believe it. What do you think he's going to do with that Robo taxi? Do you think he's just going to put it out as a Robo taxi? Have a little foresight. You got to think a little bit more, maybe. That's the Model 2. Anyhow, the Model 2 was excellent, or the Robo taxi was an excellent ride. I couldn't believe, with all the traffic and whatnot that was going on, I couldn't believe that that it didn't bang into things. I mean, there was bicycles, there was other cars running around. It was just it was very congested, and the car handled everything beautifully. Oh, it didn't get up to speed. Well, you couldn't. I mean, it drives safely. You can't possibly get up to 60 miles an hour in that kind of an environment. Again, I shouldn't have ever read those comments. And then my favorite thing of all, the van, the bus. Oh my God. I love the styling. I loved when it came up and 14 people jumped out. I didn't get a chance to get a ride in it, but I'll tell you what, I was totally blown away. Everything about that exhibition was phenomenal. That reveal was the best ever. I was really, really blown away. I can't begin to tell you. I wished I could have spent hours there, but anyhow, what's the next question? Hey everybody, hi. Armin and I are back again. Our last little advertisement basically said that we were going to be making these many wheels, and we got a lot of response for a smaller wheel. So the signature wheel, this one here in back of Armin, we're now producing that at an 18-inch diameter wheel. That wheel, actually, Armin's going to talk about a little bit, but it will be a little bit less expensive, and it will be a little bit lighter. On the basically the bulletproof wheel, which you can see right there at the end, That product is going to be both the 20 and 22, correct?
20 and 22 inches.
22
yes.
inch. So you asked and we delivered.
And then for OEM Plus aerodynamics, we have our fully closed bulletproof wheel that will also release for the other Tesla vehicles, right? So we have a 5-lock version for this. We flash it into the screen here, what it looks like. So you'll be able to have it on your Tesla Model 3, X, S, Y, the whole entire lineup. Again, for those vehicles, 18 through 21 inches. And all of these are available with custom colors, right? So this is a bronze. Basically, these all custom CNC machine forged wheels. That means they're made for you on a basis. And if you want any color, just let me know, send us an email, and we can make it happen for you.
Before the event began, you were asked what you were expecting to see, and you mentioned that you were hoping Tesla would unveil a minivan. It's not exactly a minivan, but let's start there. What are your thoughts on the Tesla Robo van?
Okay, so I was hoping for a minivan, and it's kind of like the kid at Christmas that hopes he gets a game for his computer games or whatever, and winds up with a new computer and a box full of games. This an Xbox with, I mean, that's kind of like how I felt. I think I was expecting or hoping for something small that would maybe handle 5 or 6 people, but that Robo taxi, or sorry, the Robo bus or Robo van, he called it.
The Robovan. The Robovan is we're going to make this.
I was totally blown away. I mean it sincerely. I love the styling. I love Art Deco. It does look like the future. If we wanted to see the future, you have to go back to the 30s when people had a vision of what the future could look like. You look at those old vehicles and whatnot, the sleek lines and the grace and elegance of all those designs. That's what that Robo van to me epitomizes. Now, he said 20. There was only 14 seats in what I saw, and it would look very comfortable and luxurious. I can see that being the number one van for picking people up at the airport and whatnot. There's probably a huge market in the downtown areas as well for this thing. So yeah, it's great.
The Robo van reportedly has space for up to 20 passengers and, like the Cybercab, lacks traditional controls such as steering wheels or pedals. It was also mentioned that it's designed for use in autonomous ride-sharing services, while also being available for Tesla customers as personally owned vehicles. With this in mind, let's explore its potential audience. Do you think the Robo van will be marketed primarily towards commercial applications like deliveries and shuttles, or could it also appeal to personal use as a spacious family vehicle?
Well, that would be a big family if you've got 20 people. But what I do see is that for parties, weddings, anything like that, this is gonna just crush the limo business. I think that these products, I'd rather be in one of those in a party van like that than I would in a limousine where you never know what kind of driver you got. So I'm really thinking that that's going to be a very large portion, or they're going to be in demand. For a family vehicle, there are some family. When I grew up, there were a lot of families that had big families. Nowadays, everybody'd rather have a dog than a kid, so it's a lot different. I think that from a family van kind of thing, it doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense. But renting them, all day long. Like I said, for parties, for picking people up at the airport, like we had 26 executives showed up, and they rented, I don't know how many vehicles to come down and visit. With the Robo van, we could have had them in 2 vehicles, and they'd been in a lap of luxury with all their baggage and whatnot. So, no, I think it's got a very, very wide audience. I'm not sure which one would be the biggest, and maybe that's the best audience. It's so broad that you can't lose. There's going to be a ton of people that are going to be interested. Not to mention downtown driving. So.
With no details shared regarding the Robovan's range, power, or performance, do you think it could adopt inductive charging technology similar to the Cybercab?
It's going to have inductive charging. You want to get that done as fast as you can, so inductive charging is your best bet. And if you look at the size of it and you start thinking about batteries, that's got to be like 3, maybe 4 times as big as for a battery pack as what I could get in anything that Tesla's got going on right now. So your range and whatnot, that has a lot more to do with weight and everything than it does anything else. But that'll be running at a slow speed. And Tesla is very, very good at efficiency. So you got weight, that's going to be an issue with that many people in it. But you also have the weight of the batteries and things like that. I think easily I could get 500. I think I could easily get 500 miles out of that thing if I used the whole floor area. And I'm not. This doesn't have to be a rocket ship, so I'd use LFP batteries in it, and I'd probably use induction motors. Excuse me. And I'd probably use induction motors, which might be a better application for that type of operation. But like I say, I think this has got a huge wide audience for usages.
The Cybercab is designed without a steering wheel, pedals, or mirrors, as you experienced during your brief ride. What was your initial impression of it, and how do you think it will perform in real-world scenarios?
I think that the cyber taxi it'll be exactly the same as self-driving is right now. It'll handle just beautifully, swimmingly well. I was asked a couple of times about, what did they actually take out? And basically, I've got it right in front of me. They will get it. I'm using the numbers from the Model Y that we did, the most recent Model Y. And so we're going to look at the steering column going away along with the intermediate shaft. And there's a connections that would go down to the steering gear, but it wouldn't be the whole steering gear. It would be just from the steering wheel to the electric motors that run the steering gear. And then you'd have the what we call the steering wheel clock spring assembly, and that holds your two stalks that control most of the car. That would disappear. The scroll control for the left and the right. Then we'd have the steering column, motor harness assembly, driver airbag. There is an airbag, but it's not in the column. The steering wheel harness assembly. The airbag that's in the steering wheel is gone. There'll be something else, but I couldn't tell what. The pedal box assembly, the right and left mirrors, and of course the mirror inside. If we look at that, you're looking at $434.43. That's how much I think they can get rid of inside the cab. Now, below the skin, I don't know what's going on. I can't tell you about that, but that's what I can see right now. So you're looking at about 400, let's just say 400 and, let's say round number, $400 gone. There may be things that have to be added back in somewhere, but I'll take a 10% hit and just call it $400. That disappears.
At a starting price of under 30 grand, how do you think Tesla plans to balance affordability with cutting-edge technology?
The cutting-edge technology is already there. As far as I'm concerned, what we experienced, what Eric and I experienced when we were driving around, was as good as anything I could have ever hoped for. The 30 grand, I can tell you right now, there's no back seat. That's gone. There's no. There's a lot of features and functions that are in the Robotaxi that are not like what you'd see inside of a Model Y or 3 or and definitely not in an S or an X or a Cybertruck. It's a toned down version because it's a taxi. Just like all taxis, they go with hard plastic and what I would call industrial kinds of plastics. People throw up in taxi cabs and things like that. So this vehicle has a much less expensive interior than what you'd see in a normal Tesla. It also only has 2 doors. Doors are expensive, and so is the surrounds and everything else that goes along with them. I don't see any problem getting you down to 30 grand, in the range of 30 grand. It should be easy peasy.
You mentioned that you believe the Cybercab prototype is made out of carbon fiber. Do you think Tesla will keep this material when production begins? And what potential cost savings does it offer?
Cost savings? Carbon fiber currently doesn't offer any cost savings. What it does offer is weight savings, which equates to total cost of ownership. So anytime you drag along anything that's too heavy, that takes away from your range, costs you more when you start looking at electricity. Or for those guys who still think that ice is the best on the planet, well, weight affects range as well. So I don't think if I was doing it right now, I would probably stay with carbon fiber because it's the only skins. I mean, BMW put out a car that had basically a woven material that was the outside skins. All the rest of the stuff was like the skins of a car really don't do much to protect you. It's all the skeleton inside that makes your car safe. And if this is a low speed vehicle and I don't have to worry about noise, I could probably get away with carbon fiber because, quite frankly, it'll work just fine. And by the way, it was chilly outside and was nice and warm inside the Robotaxi.
What are the advantages of using inductive charging for the Cybercab compared to traditional plug-in charging?
It's fast. It's easier. Okay, so I'm surprised that women don't watch my programs. I don't know why that is, but if you men maybe could ask your wives, girlfriends, sisters, daughters, whatever, to watch, it might be a good idea because I haven't found a whole lot of women. I haven't found a whole lot of women that like the idea of getting out into the pouring rain or the snow so they can gas up their vehicles. I don't know many kids, I don't know anybody really who loves the smell of gas or diesel fuel. But the inconvenience associated with getting out of your car when it's nasty out and picking up a hose or a big electrical cord and shoving it into your car and then going back into your car, and if it's electric, no problem. You can stay nice and warm and dry. But if you're in an ICE vehicle and it's cold outside, it's not going to take long to get cold inside because you can't leave the heat on. So at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that if I had my druthers, I'd rather do inductive charging because I'll just drive over the top of it. And I don't have to get out of the car. And basically it'll be drive in, drive out. It'll be just a through fare instead of trying to drive in or back in and then back out or pull out. With induction, I would just make it, you're going to go in like a car wash. You go into a little trough, boom, you're done. And you wait for a little while and then a little ding comes up in your Tesla and says, okay, you're done, and you drive away. That's my idea of a good time. Yeah.
What challenges do you anticipate with implementing inductive charging technology in the Cybercab?
I don't anticipate any problems associated with inductive charging, period. It's been around for quite some time. Most of you have a cell phone. When you go to an inductive charger, you've got a little pad sitting there and basically you put your phone on top of it, and I hate to keep using the same word, but the little pad is charging your phone. To get into inductive charging might take me a while, but in essence, that communication that comes from the little pad that's sitting on your table plugged into the wall and your phone is basically the same thing that's going to happen with the cyber taxi or anything else that goes to induction charging. This is the way it's going to be. Now, with your phone, you lay it on top and it goes bong, and you do what you do. But with a car, it can be a little further away. So that experience you have with your cell phone, it has to be touching. Doesn't necessarily have to be touching with induction into a vehicle, because the voltages are much, much higher. It's not going to be any problem whatsoever. This science has been known forever.
The Cybercab will be hailed through an app similar to Uber, and once you request one, it will be available for your needs throughout the day. How do you envision this competing with services like Uber and Lyft?
I think it's like Uber and Lyft, only consistent. Sometimes I get an Uber ride, and it's a beautiful car, clean, spotless, and the driver's really nice. And then other times, like when we were trying to get to the Tesla event, the driver was obviously a new to the country, didn't really speak English. I applaud him for getting a job. That's great. Anybody that's working, as far as I'm concerned, work is honorable no matter what you're doing. But it was a different kind of a ride. And anyway, we got there, but the car wasn't all that good, and the driver didn't really speak English. In the case of the Cybercab or the Cyber Taxi, whatever, you won't have that problem. It'll know what it needs to do and how it needs to get there, and that's that. It's going to be more convenient, probably faster, and you're always going to see the same consistency.
What challenges do you foresee in gaining regulatory approval for the Cybercab and Robovan?
Depends on who gets in. I don't want to get into political stuff, but based on what I've heard from our wonderful government about canceling Elon's 50 space launches this year, and based on, I don't want to get into this too much, but everything has to do with politics. And right now, Elon Musk's name is Mud, because he's a self-proclaimed Republican. And so that answer is really going to be kind of tough. It depends a lot on who wins the election.
All right, so we're going to switch gears to Optimus.
Okay.
What are your first impressions of finally seeing Optimus up close?
Okay, so I worked on the very first robot, the very first robot that was ever put into the automotive industry. I was 16 years old, and this robot was scary as hell. Every once in a while, it would lose its mind, and it would wave all over the place and it wouldn't do its job. All the parts had to be right in the exact same spot for the robot to pick it up and do what it needed to do. Any kind of end-of-arm tooling that went on this thing was, it had to be as light as it could possibly be, because it could only lift up a certain amount. And it was electro-hydraulic. It was, I saw no reason for doing this. I thought a man could do the job better than whatever this thing could. As time progressed, I worked on lots of robot systems, and by the way, that first robot was called a Unimate. And I worked on lots of systems. Now ABB is probably one of my favorite robots on the planet, but KUKA, all kinds of different robots now can do simple tasks on the assembly lines and whatnot. Simple is in I pick something up, I put it down. I pick something up, I put it down. I spot weld, I spot weld, I spot weld, and then I spot weld, I spot weld. It's the same job over and over again. It's called it's called drudgery, and that's why we do it, and that's why normal human beings don't want anything to do with that type of job. This robot is a humanoid. This is an animatron, a real. This is what Leonardo da Vinci was trying to create when he was trying to create the ultimate warrior. A robot that can walk, talk, think, do tasks that no other robot I've ever seen can do. Again, I'm probably countering some guys with no experience whatsoever who either write stories or have deep financial knowledge. These clowns don't know shit from chewed dates. I'm telling you right now, these robots are brilliant, and the price that he put out around $80,000, wowzers, that's extremely inexpensive. I don't know about longevity. I don't know how long they'll last on an assembly line and whatnot, or how long they'd last as a household servant. But 80 grand is not a hell of a lot to pay and that's a one-time buy. I'm really, really impressed with the robots. I think that if you can eliminate dirty, dangerous, and drudgery from the experience of doing work, I'm in all day long. I'm not a fan of putting anybody in harm's way. I think that a life of doing something that's monotonous is not a life at all. So I'm all in. The robots are phenomenal. They truly are amazing, and nobody else has come up with that either. So.
Besides its hands, what unique design features does Optimus have or require that set it apart from other robots?
No one's ever had a robot like this before. Nobody. The closest thing that I can think of was the dog that was invented by the Boston group down in Boston, in Massachusetts. That's the only group that I've seen, and that doesn't look nothing like what Tesla's got. No one has come up with anything that looks like that, or acts like that, or moves like that. This is like totally unique. Totally.
Will Optimus have the capability to learn and adapt over time, similar to Tesla's autopilot systems? And should we be concerned about this?
That's called cognitive knowledge. So when a piece of equipment, and this is not brand spanking new, this has been going on for a while. We had something similar, a program similar to this when I was at Ford, and that was almost 40 years ago. And developing a program so that a robot or a machine can figure out that if you do this and you do that, you're going to have a problem. It remembers it and then modifies its behavior. That's been around for a long time, long enough that like I say, it goes back 40 years. This robot, I'm sure, is loaded with AI. And so if it does something that you don't like and you say, don't do that again, it won't. So these are the kinds of things that this robot makes it so incredibly unique from everything else. Everything I saw tells me that it knows how to walk without banging into people. It knows how to pick up componentry and have a sense of touch. Tactile sensing is extremely important in a robot. So I'm very, very impressed with that.
Okay, last question. If you were to purchase an Optimus robot, what tasks would you assign it at Munro?
At Munro? Okay, so that robot, I don't do many physical things. And I would... Well, that type of a robot could do maintenance, the drudgery spot, like somebody walking around picking up the garbage or something like that. It could do things that require maybe a little physical strength or may put people in harm's way. I'm always nervous about battery disassembly and whatnot. It's when we get them in there, we discharge them, but batteries charge up all by themselves. It's a chemical reaction. So that would be a good spot. Anywhere where there's danger associated with whatever, then I would put a robot in there. Anything that is repetitious, I think that would be something I'd put a robot in on. I'd much rather have it at home though for cutting the grass and doing yard work and stuff like that, and even cleaning up the house and whatnot. I think that there's lots of applications that I could use a robot, but and they would certainly work well in factories. But for something that's custom like what we are, where we're developing reports and we have to have a good deal of deep knowledge to figure out what it is that the thing we've torn apart or the thing we're redesigning, I don't think that a robot's going to help me out a hell of a lot there. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I was extremely impressed with everything that Tesla came out. I realize I'm, not really smart like the writers and the finance guys, but at the end of the day, if you're an ordinary person like myself, this was brilliant. Anyway, thanks for watching, boys and girls.